Good morning, everyone. I'm doing a quick garden tour this morning. It's the middle of November and I want to show you what we've got going on. We actually have a pretty big project that we're going to be working on after I do this video, putting in some raised beds where I had an in-ground garden last year. We got Carson showing off this morning with his toy slash log. That's just how he rolls. Alright, so let's get started. We're going to start up here by the house. I've got my little raised boxes that I've complained about before, never having a lot of luck growing anything. Mainly, the issue is that the water drains out of these boxes too quick and things dry out and don't do well. As you can see, I now have strawberries in there, and I've added a significant amount of peat moss to these boxes, and that seems to be doing so much better. It's holding the moisture, and I'm only having to water every few days without it drying out so bad. Looks like we got probably a little squash peeking up through there. That's not going to last past tonight because we've got a good frost coming through tonight. Even though it's the middle of November, I still have peppers. We've had probably 3 or 4 decent frost in October, but these peppers were close to the house, so the bricks kind of kept them warm, and it burnt a few of the top leaves, but they have continued to produce peppers. They're looking a little rough and eaten by the insects at this point. I actually didn't expect them to last this long, but they have, so they're still producing peppers. I still have a little basil plant that made it, and there's a tomato plant in there as well. So we're around in the front of the house now, and I've put in, these are June-bearing strawberries. It was 50 plugs. I think I've lost a couple of them. Looked like something might have eaten those that I lost. Everything looked very healthy. I got them from Haas Tools, and I've never gotten anything from them that I didn't feel like was just super quality. So these have done really, really well. And this is what I'll probably be shooting more for with my strawberries, is the June bearing. The ones that I showed you in the back were ever bearing. They produce a little smaller berry, but they do produce throughout the year. I just don't want to have to deal with strawberries all year, so I'd like a big crop of big, nice, juicy strawberries, and then that be it. Over here in the front, I still have pepper plants as well. Same thing as from the back. These made it through the frost and are still producing. As you can see, we got some really pretty orange peppers. Those make great fermented pepper sauce, so hopefully I'll get a few more crops off of that. We are expected to have a frost tonight. We shall see if they make it again. All of this was planted in tomatoes and winter squash during the summer. So we pulled all that out. We've since added the actual mason work around the beds instead of just a little wall lined. And that should work better with keeping the weeds out and what we have planted in there contained inside. And here on this side of the house, this was my herb garden for the summer. It's about played out, and there's still some tomato plants in there. Some parsley, some sage. Most of it has died off. So we'll clean that out shortly and get it prepped for a spring herb garden again. Alright, we're back down here at the main raised bed garden, and a lot of what I have going on in here right now is just kind of mismatched because I've harvested some things, replanted some things. These are mainly fall and winter items. So, over here we have, this was supposed to be a carrot bed. I've had to replant it several times because the dogs kept trampling through it. Got a few little onions that I threw in there, and some volunteer potatoes. This was an onion bed. I need to trim these back, thin them down, and spread them out. Now, these were some that I planted from seeds back in August, and then actually I take that back. Some of these are from seeds planted in August, and some were direct sowed. So the ones that are real close together were the direct sow that I need to spread out. And these are short day onions, so they'll grow throughout the winter and then produce a bulb in the spring. This is my intentional bed of potatoes, not volunteers. I'm going to cover these tonight because we're supposed to have the frost. If I can get another couple of weeks, that would probably be good. Some of them are starting to die back. They are technically at 90 days now, so I should have some decent little potatoes, but certainly could get some bigger ones if it could make it another couple of weeks. We've got cabbages growing in this bed, and I've got cilantro in these little boxes here at the end. One other little potato plant that was more of a volunteer. I had cauliflower planted in this bed, but none of it did very well. I have an issue with some grubs in this bed, so we're going to have to take care of that, and then just probably use this bed for onions. Over here, same story. I had planted broccoli, but it didn't really do very well. I have a couple of them left, so those were both just little failure boxes. Looking back up through here at some of my tubs, I've got some kale coming in there. We have some lettuce in this little box. We've eaten several meals of lettuce off of that one little box. These are Egyptian walking onions that I need to separate and spread out. I have some more of my ever-bearing strawberries in here that I'm going to get out of this bed and spread out up in the front beds where the June bearing are as well. A little bit of kale, a little bit of lettuce. This bed was full of radishes that I've harvested now. I have a few remaining carrots over here. These were full of carrots in these 3 beds, but there were a few that were kind of small when I harvested, so I just left those, and I'll come back and get these shortly. A little dill plant that actually made it through the summer over there. With the frost coming tonight, that won't make it, but I'm considering digging it up and putting it in a pot for the winter. Some more carrots over here, some onions and carrots there. We've got some spinach and lettuce coming up in this end bed. Again, this end bed was full of carrots up until about probably 3 weeks ago. We've got beets over here, some rutabagas, a little spinach, and growing some nice fire ants there, it looks like. In here, these were my beds that grew potatoes and sweet potatoes this year. As you can see, we've got a few little sweet potatoes that are potatoes sending up starts. Those will not make it. They'll die back with the frost, but all of this other is just ground cover. It's hairy vetch and some winter peas. The goal is to put a lot of nitrogen back in these beds throughout the winter time. So we'll let the hairy vetch go to seed in the spring, and then we'll cut it all back into our dirt, and that's going to build some incredibly rich soil to probably do. We may rotate the crops. We may do some more potatoes or sweet potatoes in these beds again in the spring. I haven't fully decided what I'll do with them in the spring, but they should be nice and rich, and the soil will be rebuilt. One of the big things I've been working on in my raised beds is building the soil. So every time I pull a crop of something out of a bed, I add some organic fertilizer back to that bed. I add a lot of rabbit manure, just to try to get the soil amended really well. Some kitchen compost. And I also sprinkled all of these beds with some wood ash to add some phosphorus, potassium back to the soil as well. So one of the big things I'm working on is keeping this soil very fertile for continued growth. This one little bed here, I've got garlic coming up in. This whole bed should be full of that in just another month. One other thing over here, I had garlic in this bed. So there's little garlic shoots coming up everywhere. So I will probably try to consolidate these in one spot and have a little garlic patch. I believe this is a little turmeric shoot coming up where I had turmeric out here before. But this lettuce is ready to eat. So that's what we're doing here in this, what I call my main raised bed garden area. Hi, baby. The baby doll sheep talking to us this morning. Now, the big project we have going on in just a bit is this area. This was my in-ground garden this past spring and summer. It did really well. It was very productive. We grew some fantastic corn there in the back. But it had a lot of problems with weed overgrowth. It was a lot to keep up with. So what we're going to do in this front area right here in front of those pins, we're going to put rows of raised beds. We're going to leave this back end here just open because I'm going to do another patch of corn in the summer. This was the perfect amount of corn for us for the year. So we'll do that again. We'll do sweet corn in there. And then all of this area, which was really overgrown with weeds, a lot to keep up with to try to keep that, not even weeds, it was really a lot of grass and everything. So it was just more than what I could keep up with in this one area. So we're going to put the raised beds, and that should work out better. Hi, babies. So these are the baby doll sheep. I have 6 of them. We'll have lambs in the spring. I'm looking forward to that. They're over there eating some hay. Loki in the background. We got the Katahdins here in the back. They're all very pregnant. We should start having lambs, I would expect, in the next month from some of our big girls. We have a new ram this year as well that bred all of the young girls, the upcoming yearlings, out of the previous ram. This is Peaches. She's my favorite. And that's Butterbean. Hi, girls. I don't have any treats for you. Got the ducks in the background. The jerseys. More of the Katahdin sheep over there. And that's it for our little garden tour. We'll do a video shortly on putting in the raised beds in that back spot.